You're watching Leafs Morning Take with host Nick Alberga and former NHLer Jay Rosehill. The show starts now.
At last, Rosie's birthday week has arrived. It's the Monday edition of Leafs Morning Take presented by Bet365, Nick Alberga, and an ailing Jay Rosehill. How are we feeling on this Monday, Rosie?
Yeah, wake up call for the 40-year-old. God damn.
What
I'm
happened?
I'm on the IR.
Take us through the scene of events that led to. So for those of you wondering what the hell our thumbnail's about today, please disclose the information.
Well, we take the family out on some days off here for the weekend. Go to a buddy's place, Lake Koocanusa. Kids are learning to surf. They're skiing. We're doing all kinds of stuff. And I grew up wakeboarding, water skiing, doing that kind of thing. My dad and brother are pretty heavy into like competitive water ski. Well, they were to a degree, whatever. They know what they're doing. We grew up behind the boat. Every year, maybe every couple of years, I jump behind the boat, do a little board, and it's just like a personal, benchmark on where I'm at, how I'm feeling, the balance, the coordination, jump around back there. I could do a couple little flips and whatever. So I told myself, I'm like, well, how long are you going to do that for? And I'm like, okay, well, when you're 40, go do it, chuck a flip, call it a career, say cool, move on with your life. Okay, so I'm going to go do that. It's beautiful. I wasn't even going to do it on the weekend. My buddy's like, oh, I'm bringing the board anyways. So I go out there and I'm jumping around and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go do a flip and then that's it. And I go do this flip. And as I land, I put my back arm into that big wave for like balance. And that big wave grabs my arm and just blows my pec, like pops my pec or my bicep or something. Everything's purple. At the hospital for 2 days. They couldn't tell me anything in BC. So now I'm waiting on an urgent MRI to figure out if I need surgery or not. And it's like, welcome to 40, you stupid bastard.
It's funny. I was talking about this over the weekend, how the body just doesn't react the same way. Like you think you're 25, but the body, like as something maybe as harmless as that, there would be a quick recovery maybe 10, 15 years ago. But now I think you're looking at rehab, you're looking at a long summer ahead, and it's just so unfortunate because it's something you've done many, many times before, right?
Well, that's the thing. It wasn't violent. It was fairly innocent. And I don't know. I think we've talked about on here how I've been in the gym, taking care of myself and getting strong and going back to, trying to feel good physically like when I was playing, and no reason that should have happened, but it just did. And yeah, you're not 20 anymore. I feel sheepish that I was even doing that behind the boat. Like, what are you doing? But literally like 30 seconds later would have been the last time I was ever on a wakeboard, no matter what happened. And I got a reality check. So yeah, the body's not what it used to be. It sucks. You hear it growing up, like, your mind wants to and your heart wants to, but your body won't let you. And I'm like, well, what is that shit? If you're capable, then you just do it. No, shit happens. And I don't know, between my back and this now, it's just, it sucks, but it's a little reality check that things don't work the way they used to. And if you try to make them, they might explode on you.
So yeah, as you see in the thumbnail, pretty bruised up pec. What does that feel like? Is there anything comparable that you felt or dealt with in your career that feels like? I'm trying to, get a sense of like the pain threshold for something like that.
It wasn't that incredibly painful. It's just like, you're stretching something, then it goes pop, and it just goes pop, and then goes longer than it's supposed to be. And right away I could see there's this little bulge in my pec, a big gap in my armpit kind of thing. And I'm like, yeah, I just blew my pec. And it's surprisingly, getting out of the boat and getting to the house and stuff, it got real painful, and I could not put it in a position for a second. I guess I was kind of like white looking. And then so we're like, okay, we better go get it checked out. But after that went away and I was pretty much fine. It's not that painful. I can move it around a little bit, but it's just getting more and more purple. And it sucks because the ultrasound I got, they can't tell how torn it is and whatever. Nobody cares about my ailments, but I'm dealing with that now. But good news, my schedule is pretty much wide open now for Leafs Morning Take, and I will probably be missing less and less shows unless it's for MRIs or doctor's appointments. And my summer just changed a whole lot, which sucks. We were going to do some content up in the Muskokas, had some golf tournaments lined up, all kinds of stuff was going to be fun. And she's all on the shelf now, so trying to keep a good attitude.
Fair enough. Wish you a speedy recovery on that front. Our Super Chat charity partner this season is Sick Kids. Want to make sure that your question or comment gets on the show. Hit us up with a Super Chat. Proceeds from our Super Chat will go to Sick Kids, ranked the #1 research-intensive children's hospital in Canada and 3rd in the world. As I did reference, it is your birthday week coming up on Wednesday, and the NHL released the first 3 games of the slate, the complete release happening on Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern time. But we know opening night, October 7th, it's a Tuesday. You got Chicago at Florida, Pittsburgh at the Rangers, the LA Kings visiting Colorado. We know the Leafs are going to start on the Wednesday, but we won't find out more until closer and closer to 1 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesday.
That's a guaranteed Montreal Canadiens matchup, is it not?
I'm trying to, folks in the chat, and maybe you guys can help out, has it been Montreal every year? It felt that way, but I wonder if it's just like Ottawa or Montreal. Like, that's my feel. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if it's Ottawa just because they played them in the playoffs, but it always seems to be Habs, doesn't it?
I just assumed it always was. Like when I remember my first game was against the Habs, and then every time I've ever paid attention, you start the season against the Habs. I think it's kind of a tradition that goes back, one of those things of the league. The original 6 teams that are have that many cups and that are rivals. I just thought that went without saying they start the league. So I'd be very surprised if it wasn't, but I think that's tradition. Yes.
And I think the last couple of years to that point, it's been like a Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday slate to start out the year where they play 3 and 4. You see the backup on the Thursday, and I expect the same. I don't know much about the schedule. I think I mean, we've heard different drafts. We had Bruce Cassidy on last week. He was alluding to the fact that the Marner return could come early in the season. But that would make the most sense if we see 3 and 4 to start the year. And I think we're just wondering more, is it going to be on the road in Montreal or is it going to be at home when the Maple Leafs kick off the season on October 8th? But it can't come soon enough. Tell you, man, I look forward near the end of the season to summer. Summer comes and I'm like, hey, I'm bored. Like, I have nothing else to do with my life.
It's kind of funny. Well, luckily it comes and goes very quickly in this country, but correct me if I'm wrong. I think we started on the road against the Habs last year. I think we were due for a home game against them to start. It's just funny. I'm thinking back to starting seasons and just throw it into the fire, 3 and 4, and it's always weird, man. You're excited, anticipating a good season. Hopefully you kind of already know where you're at and everything. And then, you get chucked back into the routine and, you're optimistic that let's get off on the right foot. This could be really good. What's our team look like? What are these new guys like? What's this coach like? But you're starting, you're at the beginning of a very long grind, and 82 game season. That's a lot can go on in there. And it's just interesting to think about getting back into it like that. And it kind of makes me chuckle. Like, that would make guys roll their eyes going, yeah, we're starting off with a 2 and 3 with, 1 or 2 of them on the road. For all I know, it's starting the grind. All right.
Important to stress as well. We did talk a lot the last couple of weeks about the new CBA that's going to come into effect, I think, next year, right? So the 4-game slate in the preseason, then 84-game regular season. So the same type of schedule. I think the Leafs preseason schedule was released a couple weeks back. They have 6 games as per usual, but I think you can speak to this. I think guys want to start the season quicker, and I hope we get to that point. I believe it feels like it's a week earlier than previous seasons where I think we're getting things going, and I'm still under the belief that we should finish the season in like late May. I don't think we'll ever get to that point. I just feel like it's a long, grueling campaign, and then you get the Stanley Cup final, and it happens over like 3 weeks. Like, just end it already. Sometimes that's the feel I get.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I feel like start earlier. My kids are starting hockey, and minor hockey's full blown, and we're waiting for the NHL to get going. I don't really understand that. I know there's other things that when you're biased to one sport, you don't think about the others, but baseball's in effect, and when basketball starts, and football is a huge thing in the States that you got to work around. But I don't see why you can't start it a little bit earlier. It seems like, I think my first game was like October 4th or 5th or something, and now they're starting like the 12th. It's like, well, why are you losing that week and just burying it in June? Doesn't make total sense to me. But the fact that they're going to an 84 game season, people are like, my goodness, but they're going to back off this ridiculous preseason that they have. Camp can be like 20 days long or 18. Like, what are we doing, man? The boys are in shape already. You used to go to camp to try to dry off the booze and lose 15 pounds to your playing weight and like get back in shape. That's not the case anymore. These kids are back on the ice like 2 weeks after they win the Stanley Cup. It's insane. So you don't need a camp that's that long. Gas all those bullshit exhibition games that nobody can stand and no one cares about. Chuck 2 more games at the owners to say, here's your revenue. That's another game for you personally, and get the season going. So we'll see. I'll be paying attention on Wednesday to what this thing looks like.
Michael Dix writes in, can we just start the playoffs already? How do you feel about that, Rosie? I bring that up every year. I'm like, it's just an 82-game trial run to find out if this team is different.
Well, I know. I hate doing that because it's just
I know. A lot can happen.
Far away. But the difference is this year, which I like. I mean, where did that sentiment come from? It came from running it back, right? We know what this is. We know what this is. Like, the only thing anyone wants to know or cares about is, can these guys get through a series against this team or that team? Now it's a little different, like without Marner and his Maccelli, correct? I should get that right before our interview today.
Yeah.
And there's going to be some differences, and it's going to be interesting. So, yeah, I don't want to do that game this fall of just get me to the playoffs because it makes it seem even longer and more arduous.
Well, I guess the good thing is that the Blue Jays are red hot. They're first in their division. By the way, baseball fans, if you love the Jays or just can't get enough of big league ball, check out the 6-Inning Stretch, the brand new podcast in the Nation Network hosted by Lindsey Dunn and 3-time MLB All-Star Whit Merrifield. It's your weekly dose of insider stories, unfiltered takes, exclusive interviews, and all the biggest headlines from around the majors. New episodes drop every Wednesday, so like, follow, and subscribe to the 6-Inning Stretch wherever you get your podcasts, or watch full episodes on the Blue Jays Nation YouTube channel. You mentioned our guest pulled off the Matias Maccelli trade with the Maple Leafs back in late June. Bill Armstrong, the GM of the Utah Mammoth, stopping by here in about 15 minutes, Rosie.
Yeah, looking forward to that. I think we're going to pick his brain a little deep. Hopefully he's in a chatting mood, but I want to figure out how that deal came to be, how it came into place, and see if we can get some behind the scenes stuff. I think we've talked a lot on this pod about wanting to be a fly in the wall in the war room and the GM rooms, how those things come together, how nonchalant are they, how intense are they? Anything we can get, we're going to try to suck out of our guest today, as we appreciate him coming on, and we're going to try to get some good info.
Not to mention a Richmond Hill native, and I believe that's where he'll be doing this interview, Bill Armstrong, coming up in about 15 minutes here on Leafs Morning Take. At the Leafs Nation 401 on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, Leafs Morning Take, wherever you find your podcast. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review. And don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com. So here's a good one for you. I know you're busy over the weekend, a bit banged up, but a lot of news out of Daily Faceoff. They don't think the Maple Leafs are going to make the playoffs, Rosie. How do you feel about that?
Get real. Like, seriously, you lose one guy, you still have your tenders, you still, like, that's a joke. These rumors and stuff are starting to piss me off. Guys are bored, they have nothing better to talk about, and they just throw shit at the wall and see if it sticks. Let's get serious with that take. Who said it? Was it Frank?
Well, no, it wasn't Frank. We'll get to that a bit later on. I believe our guest is ready. This interview is brought to you by our good friends over at Greta Bar YYZ, the ultimate hangout spot in Toronto. Whether you're catching the big game, diving into some classic arcade action, or grabbing some unreal street food, Greta Bar's got you covered. For more info, head on over to gretabar.com. That's gretabar.com, 590 King Street West. Greta Bar, let the games begin. So I believe we will connect. Do we have our guests today? Do we have him? We good to go? I don't see him on screen anymore, so maybe we'll try. Oh,
I'm right here.
Okay, we got him. How's it going, Bill? How are you?
I'm doing great. How you guys doing? Jay, how you doing?
Good. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure. I'm just in Richmond Hill. I'm in for a golf tournament here, the Stomp Golf Tournament. They've got a great message out there. I did it a few years ago, so I try to donate my time and donate some good gifts for them, and we auction off some Utah jerseys, which the Leaf fans really like, and try and give them some free tickets in Utah with some free ski passes, and usually they pick the Leaf game. And then we get set up with some of the Utah players after the game, so see what we can do to raise some money.
Donate a few golf balls too, maybe.
Well, thank you so much for doing this today, Bill, and of course pulling off the deal, which we want to get to about Matias Maccelli. But just give us a sense of Utah. Obviously, coming over from Arizona a couple of years back, what's that process been like for you?
Been incredible. We lucked out and got one of the best owners in sports with Ryan Smith. What he's done there in a short period of time in Utah, renovated. He's renovating as we speak. I think it's an $800 million project in the Delta Center, redoing the lower bowl and both ends on it. It's going to be incredible when it's done. Just built a state-of-the-art practice facility. It's going to be the best in the NHL. He's sunk a lot of money, a lot of time and energy, and got it done quick. It's going to help us become an elite franchise just by where we play in the great state of Utah with low taxes and 300 days of sun. I can sell all day long, boys. So
you sound like you like where you're at. Everything you're saying sounds pretty attractive. If I was still playing, I'd be all ears. But from the GM point of view, this point in the season, what's going on? Obviously, you want to take some time like yourself to do some charity stuff, do some personal stuff, maybe spend some time with the family. But is the phone still ringing? Is it still active out there? What happens in the day in the life of yourself?
he's pretty busy. It's not like, people would think, that you're at the cottage in the Muskokas somewhere with your feet up on the dock and, when your dog's sitting beside you, the phone's ringing. You're hiring people. Staffs nowadays are huge in the National Hockey League, so you're rehiring. You're constantly, having strategy to make sure you get the best staff known to mankind around you, and people are leaving and coming. And the world of the NHL analytics are getting fine-tuned. Everything's getting better. So it's, you better be vested in the summer to get better as an organization. And that doesn't, the NHL doesn't sleep. It's 24/7. And I always say to our players when you leave, I'm like, success in the NHL is rented, and rents due every day in the NHL.
Really feels that way. And as mentioned, back on June 30th, you deal Matias Maccelli to the Leafs. How did that deal come about with the Maple Leafs?
Well, I always say this as an organization, when you have a player that does well and he doesn't do well, 50% of that is on the team and 50% of that is on the player. And, our team got a lot better. And, people think that it's outside competition sometimes. Sometimes it's internal. And with our group getting better every year and Logan Cooling getting a year older and eating up more ice, and Gunther is a year older, eating up more ice, Barrett Hayden's improving. All these guys are going at it, and Matias just got off to a tough start with us. He's a really skilled hockey player. He's got great vision. He's a wizard with his vision. He's a great human being, by the way. And he just got off to a tough start, and there was guys in our team that just took away some of his ice, and it never really got going for him. And that sometimes happens to players. Sometimes you're on your third team before you figure it out. But number one, he's going to be a great ad for the Leafs. He's a great kid. It's a good deal for us. If he gets over, I want to say 45 points, it turns into a second rounder for us. So we're kind of protected on that side. And if he doesn't, then the Leafs just paid a third rounder, and they've got a chance. But if he hits for the Leafs, he can do wonders, and he's a great kid. And we wish him the best. He really is a good person.
Yeah, I'm curious how that deal came together, if you don't mind sharing. Was that kind of driven by you guys trying to give him another opportunity, or was he kind of knocking on the door saying, hey, I need a change of scenery? How'd that come together?
I've always viewed, being a GM with your players as a partnership. I've always had pretty good relationships with the players. And when, there's not a fit for us in our club, we're going to do what's best for our club. But at the same time, if we can help the player out and move him to a good place for him too. And that's what happened on this particular deal. It's a good deal for Utah. It's a great deal for the Leafs, and it's going to be good for the player. He's going to go in and he's going to play around some high-end skilled players, and it's going to benefit the Leafs, and it's going to benefit him.
Take us through the evaluation process. Like, I think this is a really intriguing part of the job as a GM. Like a player like Maccelli a couple years back, you talked about it last year, maybe didn't have the season he would have liked to, or you guys would have liked. But I mean, the inconsistency is part of a young player's game. Take us through sort of the evaluation process of how you decide, like, let's trade for a player, let's trade somebody, and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's there's the seasons of the player, and they go from not making any money to a lot of money, and it messes with them. Sometimes they go through having children, and it changes them. Sometimes they're playing on a contract on a 1-year deal, and it freaks them out and they don't play well. There's the seasons of the player that they go through, and sometimes you come in and you're rocking as a young player and you're ripping apart the league, and then the next year it's work. So there's a lot of different seasons of the player. And, as a GM, you have to be very patient at times with players. But when you see the fit's not there, or you're able to add JJ Baturka to your group, the big trade, times change, and our team has changed, and we're trying to make another step. We're trying to become a playoff team. So it's heightened on our team, and we added a goal scorer. So we've got Boot coming in also from the KHL. He's going to push our top 2 lines. So it's very highly competitive in Utah right now. It's probably the most competitive team we've seen in the last 5 years that we're going to put on the ice. And there's a lot of internal competition, which is a good thing.
Yeah, it sounds exciting. What for our listeners, what can they expect from Maccelli? What kind of player is he? What does he bring to the table?
He's a high-end playmaker. That's what he is. He's an opportunist. He creates a lot of odd man rushes. You're going to love. He's got some sweet playmaking. And he's getting a lot of no-look stuff going on. And when he's on, he can light it up. He's certainly a dynamic player at times. I think, he'll have to find his synergy with the players around him, but I think he'll do that. I think he'll be a good fit for Toronto.
And so I'm always curious again about the process. So like, does Maccelli reach out to you and say, I'd like a change of scenery? If a player like that's available, like, do you put out a league-wide email? Do guys just like hear through word of mouth that he's available? Like, how does it work?
Well, it's in this world we live in the GM side of it. As soon as some particular player on your team has points the year before and then doesn't play well, everybody's asking about why and how, and the GMs are on the call, and it's a pretty there's some GMs you have really good relationships with too, and they have the same thing going on in their organization, and so you're constantly looking for that player that he might need 3 teams to figure it out, or he might need 2 teams and he's a really good player, and that's when those conversations come up. And I think there's a lot of different opportunities if you're on the phone and you're working with GMs. So you always try and stay in touch with them as much as you can.
We were talking before you got on that you're a local product here in Toronto. Just curious, when you were coming up, what era did you pay attention to? Who were some of the favorite players that you had for Leaf, or were you a Leaf fan at all?
Question. Yeah, I was. So, the Daryl Tittlers of the world, the Boreas Solvings of the world, they were all special players. The Rick Vives, growing up. And I had a special opportunity as a Richmond Hill kid. I got drafted to the Marlies in the OHL, and we played out at Maple Leaf Gardens, and I was fascinated by that building. So I could go every day and watch the Leafs practice, and Wendell Clark was coming in at that time, and it was just incredible. And I'd go watch practice. I could just sit up there and watch practice. I was John Brophy was there, Kordic came in. There was all this controversy around the team. And the best part, I'd watch pregame escapes of all the other teams. So for me, it was like, and just practicing in Maple Leaf Gardens was like, I used to go to the blue line every day and walk across the blue line and pretend I was in the Memorial Cup for double overtime and throw it at the net, pretend I scored. I do that every day in Maple Leaf Gardens. So it was just a special place. And then at night, we would go to the games. The ushers would help us, squeeze through the line. So we sat in the blues every game, and as a kid growing up, I can't tell you the experience it was, but it was amazing. It formed who I was, and I got to watch hockey. So it was awesome.
Oh, that's incredible. I just wish one day Scotiabank Arena gets back to the activity, the loudness, the level of intensity that it was back at Maple Leaf Gardens back in the day. The last one before we let you go, one of my favorite pastimes the last couple of years has been your organization, watching them at the draft in person. This year, a bit different. I was in Los Angeles. Did you vote in favor of decentralizing the draft or keeping it that way? Can you disclose that and maybe the thought process behind all that?
I can't really disclose it. Some of that stuff's at a higher pay grade than mine, so I tend to want to stay out of that.
No
I think listen, either way, I just want the best for the game. Whatever gets the most attention on that day to promote the NHL in the most positive light. I've been fortunate. I'm 55 right now. I had a contract since I've been 19 years old in the National Hockey League, and I've been very privileged to work in this league, and be raised by hockey in a lot of ways, and had some special people from the Rick Kornakias of the world in Oshawa, and be around the Lindroses. And I've had a great life coming out of Richmond Hill. And it's just, I love hockey, and I hope that whatever way they do it, as long as it promotes the game and it really helps the kids. Like, I always want the kids that get drafted on that day to feel special. That's their moment. They earn that day. And so hopefully it continues for them. And whatever the league chooses and promotes it the best way, it grows the game. I'm all for that.
Suit game strong always, Bill. Appreciate your time today. Thank you so much for your time, and have a great summer. Okay.
All right. Thank you, boys. Thank you for having me on. Much appreciated.
Thanks for
Our
coming. We
pleasure.
appreciate
Take
it.
care. There's Bill Armstrong, the GM of the Utah Mammoth, and I'm sure he's seen that the last couple of years. They all wear the same thing. It's unison. That's why I should have asked him about the new dress code in the league too, and how his reacts to that. We really haven't talked about that. Like, would you have been a guy? And like, we had Adam Henrique on the show last week when you were in here, and I asked him like bluntly, I'm like, will you deviate from the suit game? And he's like, probably not.
Most guys won't. I think hockey players are a little more reserved than, I'd say, the most reserved out of all the different sports and their athletes, whether it's soccer, football, basketball, baseball, whatever. But there will be guys that go off script, and I don't know. I feel like some guys already were whatever. Some guys like to wear the flashy suit, and that's all fine and dandy. I don't mind, as long as it doesn't get silly. I mean, you look at some guys come in and you're just like, what a spectacle. And to me, I always die laughing, because I get it. The guy walks in and you're looking sick, and you got some weird shit on, and you're all pumped about yourself. Okay. Then you go and get smoked, and you have to go do your interview and your press conference looking like a fucking idiot. I never understood that. Like, how do you not think about, wow, if we get smoked and I'm wearing this, I look like Snuffleupagus, or I look like a Sesame Street character wearing all this weird fashion stuff. Then you got to go stand. Like, how do you take, like, I think that's what a hockey player is. They have humility, and they don't want to be put in that position where they look like a fool. And I don't know, some guys don't seem to care about that too much, but it'll be fun to watch and see him get off the bus and see who's dabbed up, or whatever the hell they're calling it now. But I'll be watching good. I was just I like a good suit though. I like a nice, sharp, tight suit. So we'll see if guys go off script or not. And I doubt we'll see any Mickey Mouse t-shirts this year though.
Well, I knew Rico was going to respond that way. Like, he was talking about how he has like 12 or 14 suits, but he wears the same 2 suits. I'm like, there's no chance this guy is deviating from that dress code. But I want to simulate. I believe it starts, I don't know. I haven't got correction on this. Like, the new CBA doesn't start until after next season. So does that mean guys can't dress differently now? But I can't wait for the first guy to dress outside the ordinary, we'll say, and for your breakdown here on Leafs Morning Take. Because, dude, that's been tradition since the beginning of time, is guys wearing suits to hockey game. I could only wonder what they're going to wear now. Like full Torts special with the tracksuit.
Yeah. Like, at least, like, I'm sure everyone's going to look professional. They're not idiots. There's probably going to be some young kids that come up that wear, a sweatsuit or a tracksuit or some Gucci bullshit or something fine. But I was laughing yesterday. We were watching Wimbledon. And it's like they used to play that in suits. They used to wear like a tweed suit to play that. And same with golf. You look at the old pictures over in Scotland or whatnot, they're wearing suits. And you used to fly, you used to get on an airplane, you dress up. The men were in suits, the women were in nice dresses and stuff. You'd go to the hockey games. Look at an old picture of, the era of the original 6. Every single dude in the crowd has a suit on. So things change, but again, I'm not too worried about the dress code thing. Most guy will keep it professional, and there'll be a few guys that go off script, and I'll always be watching to see if they get smoked and look like a fool walking out of the arena and that shit.
That'll be the best part about it, because they'll have to walk out with that ensemble the way they walked in, and that's the best part about it. So before we had Bill on, I did reference Daily Faceoff put out a piece last week that suggested they think the Maple Leafs are going to miss the playoffs. I don't know. You put a piece out in early July. Even with this roster, I think the Leafs have no problem making the playoffs. I've reiterated this point like a billion times. If they can't make the playoffs with that crease and that back end, and Nylander and Austin Matthews and John Tavares coming off a really good 38-goal campaign. We got bigger issues in this market, Rosie.
Matthew Nyes could pop off and get even better. Like, it's just, it's a silly take for a team to win the Atlantic and then lose one guy and then expect that they're just going to absolutely collapse. Like, Mitch Marner was not the glue that kept that organization together. They still got lots of pieces, and I just think that what they're looking for now is some chemistry and some identity, and it's just phrases that have been used over and over again, but it's kind of all they're missing. I mean, they're a good team. They can beat every team in the league. They can go on runs. They can chip away at points all day. They can get a game to overtime. They can win in overtime. They can shut it down. They can win a 5-4 game. They can win a 2-1 game. They've got their bases covered. It's just, can you develop something that you can lean back on, that you can rely on? Like, can you figure out who you are and make that, you know, kind of a foundation of concrete under you where you're not going to go below it, where you know where your bottom line is and where you can stop the bleeding and say, hey, let's lean into who we are and what we do and go to that place and fix your problems. And I just think that's kind of been their problem when they get up against the wall. They don't know what to do. They don't really know who they are, and they've changed a lot of their DNA, and we're going to see what they put together. The first part's done, is making the changes. Now you got to put together a team that knows who they are, and that's the next task for Craig Berube, if you ask me. And I'm kind of excited to watch it and see how it goes.
At the Leafs Nation 401, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. So nearly $5.5 million of cap space per Puckpedia. Ryan Reaves out the door. You and I put the video out last week. I sort of felt bad because we asked Michael Pezzetta about that, and maybe he had an inkling that something was happening with Revo and what it was like to be teammates with Revo. But he ends up in San Jose. But my fascination more lies with some of Reeves's quotes. Like, this guy has spoken more in the last week than he did in 2.5 years in Toronto. Just tells you what we're dealing with on a daily basis. But he talked about lack of trust. He said just a lack of trust very early. I had one bad game, and I was out of the lineup for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games. I'd come back in, have a good game, but taken right back out. I really could never gain any momentum. I know you responded to that on Twitter in that quote, right?
That is an all too familiar feeling. That was my entire career in the league. It's tough to get momentum going. It's tough to get comfortable. It's tough to get in a groove. And I mean, I don't know. Revo getting a lot of attention, making a lot of press about him getting traded for like where he's at in his career. So good for him, but he really does have 9 lives. I mean, he just keeps getting jobs, and I know he's a professional. I know he is looking for 1,000 games, which is no small task, but the game has changed a lot around him. And for whatever reason, he's been able to adapt and keep himself in the league. And he just continues to do that. As for many players, what happened in Toronto may have been the end, but he would have been thanking his lucky stars he got the contract he did. At least he can fill his pockets before he leaves. And that would be the end of his career, but he's going to try to reinvigorate himself in San Jose, and good for him. It's tough being as one-dimensional as Revo is. Like, he's not putting a lot of pucks in the net. He's not real fast. He can't really impose his physicality on the game as far as big hits and chasing down D-man. And he wasn't scrapping all that often. So it's kind of like, well, I understood why he wasn't in the league, but he keeps finding ways to find himself relevant and to convince teams that they need him, and off to San Jose he goes. So I wish him the best of luck. I feel for him with his quotes and what he said. It is exactly how I would feel. You know, I'd play a game and then get pulled out for 2, and then play 2 games and then get pulled out for 5 and then get chucked. It was just impossible. Every night was a goddamn tryout. It's very difficult, and obviously he didn't like it too much and voiced his displeasure, and we'll see if it's any different in San Jose.
It's really amazing. He's played 912 games, and I mean that with the dewest of respect for the job he has and the role he fills. To play 912 games is really, really impressive. Do you think it's an outlandish take to suggest this is part of the DNA change? We know how beloved this guy was in the room. Didn't play every game, but Marner's gone. Ryan Reaves is gone. Like, 2 bigger names or voices in that room, I think.
No, I don't think that has anything to do with the DNA change. I
No,
think bringing him in was part of the DNA change on, hey, we're not going to get pushed around anymore. We're
true.
not going to have a team full of pussies with not a single guy to answer to any kind of physicality. Everyone in the league knew that. They'd try to take advantage of it when they played the Maple Leafs. Enter Revo. Was the contract a little bit heavy? Yeah. It was a little bit long? Yeah. And then you watched him play like, I didn't even care that he wasn't fighting every game. Like, I don't like I have to fight tonight because I'm in the lineup. So I'm going to stage this useless fight that has no real passion in it. I wanted to see him run around and crush guys and chirp off and be not a pest, but like calling everyone out and be intimidating. You didn't see that all that often, but I don't think like, oh my God, we didn't get past the second round. We have to get rid of some guys, and Revo's one of them. No, it was Revo, we only have so many spots on this roster. You're not invoking enough change in the game and influencing it to warrant one of those spots. So we're going to kind of move on. And he's like, well, get me out of here then, because I can still play somewhere. Enter San Jose. I don't think that had a lot to do with the DNA change that he was talking about. I think it was a contract issue.
Man, Leafs Twitter as well. Do you know this? But did you see the theories as to why he was traded? Because the whole
No.
thing with
What?
Cam and Strick came out from the podcast like a week ago, and he was talking about how he sold Marner on Vegas, took him for dinner. And dude, to my point, I brought that up before the deal happened. I'm not saying there's any, conclusions to draw there, but like he was talking like a guy who knew his time in Toronto was up. It certainly was.
Yeah. And listen, if he's on the Marlies, he's going to say he doesn't give a shit, right? He doesn't care
Yeah,
what he's going to
it's on
say.
his team. Yeah.
If he's just not going to be part of the organization in any valuable way, he doesn't care. He's going to say whatever he thinks. And if he already knew he was going to get traded, then he's going to say whatever he thinks. So obviously he didn't hold back with some of his comments, wasn't happy to be down on the Marlies. Some people would say he's entitled, and who the hell are you to expect? Like, what do you do that's so special that makes you this brash and like, acting like you're, Gretzky here? But at the end of the day, he's a veteran. Like I said, he keeps finding ways to find spots on NHL franchises. He's been doing it for a long time. But yeah, with that podcast and the comments, that it kind of, you can tell the writing was on the wall that he wasn't too concerned about being a part of the Maple Leafs in the future.
Well, it's like I can't remember a time where I saw that, where an active player on a team is like actively selling a guy who's leaving for market on another team, right? Like maybe
That's
I
weird.
read that situation wrong, but it was bizarre how he like confirmed. He's like, I took him out for dinner. I told him Vegas is a great place. Like, I get that you're buddies, but that's probably information I'm not disclosing in public. I'm sure it happens a lot, but that's when my antennas went up, and I'm like, this is something's happening here, where I think knows he played his last game as a Leaf. But I think we knew Rosie, and I think you would probably agree, having even been a guy who served that role, played that role in the league, that when they signed the 3-year contract, probably paid him a bit too much. I think all in all, when I look back at Ryan Reaves in Toronto, I'll say like he did his job. He was a good teammate. He had a positive impact on the community and the team. So like no gripes that way. I was more impressed, again, getting back full circle to the trade last week, that they were able to deal him and not have to give up any assets. Like, I know they had 1 year left on his contract, but that was a nice tidy piece of business last week.
Yeah, totally. I mean, when they signed that, I think, people were happy that, there could be a guy in the lineup that wasn't going to allow the guys to get pushed around. It's embarrassing. There's nothing worse than the team that you cheer for just getting pushed around, like disrespected night in and night out, right? So in comes Ryan Reaves. If he can handle himself against anyone in the league, I get it. But there was a lot of buzz behind the scenes, like, do we need a guy like this? He can't keep up in today's NHL. He's not warranting a roster spot. Who is he going to fight? That's not even necessary anymore. All these things. The contract was pretty heavy and pretty long. And of course, people said, there's no way in hell you're ever getting out from beneath this contract. That was the biggest thing for anyone who didn't like the Ryan Reaves contract. They would laugh in your face if you said, oh, you could deal him when, he's 2 years older and we don't use him anymore and he's in the minors and the press box, we could trade him. Like, people would laugh in your face. But Enter Tree Living finds a way to get it done, finds a suitor that needs to offload something and get out from something and finds value in Ryan Reaves and wants him. And I think San Jose is kind of perfect with, them being the market that they are, having all those young guys and Celebrini and the whatnots that are coming up. You could bring in a Ryan Reaves, help them, show them how to be a pro, get a big tough guy around them, and also protect them if ever need be. So pretty sweet, tidy piece of business, as you said, about Tree Living. And that phrase keeps coming up with Tree Living because I think he's doing a pretty damn good job as the general manager of the Maple Leafs. I'm surprised at any heat he does take. Everything he does seems to be a tidy piece of business.
Well, dude, he gets heat because of everything in Calgary. And it's like my rebuttal to that, like, don't people improve at their jobs in life? Or do we just look back and say he's shit because and the other point I'll make about that, people always want to bring up the Matthew Tkachuk trade. Receipts are a great thing in life. How much of the hockey community thought that was an absolute fleecing by Calgary, getting that return? Huberdeau, Mackenzie Weegar, I think Schwint was in that deal. Like, I remember my tweet. I didn't delete it. I said this could go down as one of the most lopsided trades in NHL history. Ultimately, Panthers did well. They got Tkachuk. There's a lot of regression from Huberdeau. Weegar's still a really good player. But I think it's such a bullshit response to be like, oh, look at how he handled the Tkachuk situation. He's a shit GM. I don't see it that way. I think people can improve in the way they do their jobs in a minute-by-minute basis, never mind daily.
Well, if you go back and look at that, I mean, Gaudreau totally flipped on the Flames, right? He just turned and said, I'm out of here, and that was unexpected. I think where you could say Tree Living dropped the ball was, at an RFA with Tkachuk. He kind of bridged him when Tkachuk wanted to go the full term, and he should have locked him down. Hindsight is 2020. Why he did that, I'm not sure. But then Tkachuk was straight up with them saying, I am not going to re-sign here. So I want to let you know that so that you can figure out what to do so I don't screw you guys. He pulls off Huberdeau and Weegar. Like, Huberdeau had 120 points that year, dude. Like, it was a nice piece of business. It was as good as he could have done, aside from maybe extending him long-term in the previous years before that bridge deal. Other than that, what was he supposed to do? I think the deal with Florida was fantastic on paper. Maybe the extension you gave Huberdeau didn't look so good, but the guy comes and has one of the most historic drop-offs in production that anyone's ever seen. That's not on the GM.
Agreed. But I just want to get that in there because, again, that's like the response from like non-Leafs fans. It's like, oh, he's a shitty GM. But I'm just judging him on the job he's done in Toronto thus far. And I've been really, really impressed, especially this summer. I mean, let's not forget, people want to talk about last offseason, the whole Vegas conversation. Marner controlled everything. These guys have controlled everything, but he's won a lot of negotiations. And that's the one thing that's really impressed me thus far in the tenure of Brad Tree Living. By the way, just seeing on social media, I guess there's a report of the Hockey News that it is going to be Montreal opening night in Toronto, Scotiabank Arena. So maybe we got a couple cheers in that building. Opening night, Leafs and Habs, October 8th. So it's coming quicker than we think here.
I hope we get some cheers, man. Some people should be excited. I don't know. I know game 5 and 7 was ugly, but again, with hindsight, you look back and you go, how good were the goddamn Panthers? And I mean, like Carolina, like get serious. Like, no one had a hope against that team, and the Leafs had them down to rights. And they didn't get the job done, and close doesn't count. I get it, but Jesus, maybe it didn't have to be that ugly of a finish, and maybe there's reason to say, you know what, let's see what we can do here. Let's see if Matthews is healthy. Let's see if these tendies are ready to rock the same way. Let's, rely on this decor and be happy. And let's see what Tree Living does with this cap space. A couple new bodies that are in there, a couple decisions that are still yet to be made. Lots of positives about the Leafs, man. I'm excited to get the season going. And again, I think even like last year, we were talking around this time or into camp, this might take a minute to get going here with Berube and with the changing of the systems and the identity. And, they took off pretty well and had a pretty solid season. And this year, again, Berube's got his claws in, understands what it looks like when they come up short and what happens in this market. So he's going to make his adjustments, and there's some new bodies and some new chemistry that's going to have to come and go. So it'd be interesting to see if they come out hot or if it's some growing pains or if they take a while to figure out who they are, if the hockey looks different, what's the power play. There's a million things to be excited about. So I would expect there to be some cheers in the building opening night against Montreal. My goodness.
All I'll say is I hope Connor McDavid had himself a phenomenal weekend. The team can't tamper, but the media can. I don't. It's July 14th. A guy of that ilk, it's like July 1 at 12:01. what do you want? And it's just the longer this drags out, I think it's got to be in the back of the minds of Oilers Nation. That's all I'm putting out there. I'm manifesting it. But there's a level of excitement I'm getting to here, man.
It's a level of annoyance, and no, he doesn't have to sign July 1. Not everybody does. Lots of superstars hang out for a period of time and even go into the season and then decide when it's right for them to make an extension. Connor McDavid may very well do that, but without question, a guy of that status taking any amount of time, and there being rumors, and Leafs Nation being as big as it is very annoying to the Oilers fans every day that passes, which makes me smile. And I have no idea what's going to happen there. I know there is a shot in hell that maybe possibly something could happen. I don't know where Connor McDavid's head is at. But as long as there's a glimmer of hope, there's going to be a glimmer of hope, and that's going to piss off Oilers fans. And it's fun to take part in.
You're telling me there's a chance, and then like the other note too, like this guy's so great. You're telling me he's not waking up on a daily basis and being like, oh, so we're running it back with Stuart Skinner. Oh, you're bringing in Ike Howard, a guy who has not played a game in the National League, and he is just magically going to have chemistry with me on the top line. Matt Savoy, same convo. Maybe I'm in the minority here, and you and I are sort of both old school. I think the Oilers got worse this summer. Like, I think they're further away from winning a Stanley Cup because I believe in the vets come the Stanley Cup playoffs. You're telling me it's going to get to the playoffs. Matt Savoy of 60 games or whatever it is in the NHL is just suddenly going to have a playoff to remember. Even Matthew Nyes, I think, is the easy comp. There's been some turbulence along the way. I think the Oilers got burned by the Florida Panthers. I think because they lost to Florida twice, they made too many moves to try to counteract losing to Florida, where they were right there, Rosie, I felt.
Oh, I right after, the first week of July, I was in our group chat to a bunch of Oilers buddies going, do you guys think you got better? Like, look who's in and look who's out. Like, I seriously think they're going to miss Corey Perry. Like, I wanted Corey Perry on the Leafs badly. I mean, I know that he's 40. I don't give a shit. Did you watch the series that they went through last year? Like, he's a part of every big moment. He's always standing out when it gets tough. And it doesn't matter if he skates 100 miles an hour or if he's 24 years old. It doesn't matter. He's always standing out in the right ways. He's always in the right spots. He's always in on the action. I want him on my team, and now he's gone. And then you look at the roster and the additions and subtractions. I don't know how an Oilers fan could justify that they're better right now. And I hate to say it because I feel for them and I don't mind the Oilers whatsoever. And they're an Alberta team and it's all good. But was that their shot? Like, was that their window? You don't get a window every friggin' year. You go to the finals, you go to the final twice, back-to-back years. Like, that might be your shot, dude. And it's kind of scary to think, especially when they didn't make a big pizzazz to give you reason to believe that they're going to be smoking hot again this year. But they are the Oilers. They do Oilery things. I always say they remind me of the Leafs with their ups and downs, and they're really good and they're really bad and what they do and people's expectations and the talk around them all the time. They very well could figure some shit out and be very good again. They could also miss the playoffs. I have no idea, man. That team is such a yo-yo.
I agree with that. It's time now for the last call, brought to you by Bet365. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app and get in on the game. Use code NATION. That's NATION, NATION. Must be 19 or older. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, visit ConnexOntario.ca. So tonight is the home run derby, and I'm going to take a shot at Matt Olson. Plus 900. The leading contender is Cal Raleigh, having an incredible year with the Seattle Mariners at plus 275. O'Neill Cruz, his exit velo is ridiculous, plus 300. But I'm going to take my shot with Matt Olson at plus 900 to win the home run derby tonight.
Where's my boy Alejandro?
He is not in the derby. No.
It's not okay.
No Blue Jays in the derby this year.
I got Brent Rooker at plus 1,000. We're going Rooks.
I like it. Okay.
He's going to be cranking the hips tonight, baby. Let's go Rooker. He's my pick.
Who allowed Jazz Chisholm in the home run derby? Like, I don't watch baseball like I used to, but you're like, why is Jazz Chisholm in the home run derby? I don't even know if you know who that is, but he is not winning this thing.
I recognize his name. I didn't know he was a big dinger. I don't know shit about ball, but I was into
He's not.
the
Yeah.
I was into the run the Jays were on, and I'm at my buddy's place when I was banged up with the shoulder, and we put the game on and we chuck a bunch of money on it. It's the first one they lose.
Oh,
the first one they lose in a dozen. Of course, I was just like, man, I honestly am terrible at betting, at gambling. Like, I will break a streak and I'll do everything but win a bunch. But Rooker, that's your pick. Trust it.
You flipped me a text over the weekend. It led me to believe that you got some, I think, Arizona Coyotes PTSD when you saw the barn that the Oakland A's are playing in these days. Did you?
Well, I was like, what is going on right now? Why am I watching a major league? I always like the big leagues, the majors. I love how it's called The Show. It's just very cool. Ball's awesome. I like it. Although I don't know much about it, I do respect the hell out of it. And then I'm watching the Jays play this game that we're throwing some money on and having a drink and watching the game. And I'm like, this is Bush League. Like, I can't even. And I'm like Googling the stadium, and they're playing in it while they're building their new one, moving the team, whatever. But it did bring back Mullet Arena vibes, no doubt, where the guys are getting dressed behind a curtain set up for a goddamn children's dance party or something. It was a bad look for the league. And after talking to Armstrong today with all the amenities and centers, and oh my God, it looks like they are putting together. If you take stock in what he's saying, he seemed to be pretty excited about it, but it looks like Utah could be a pretty fancy place to play here in the near future.
The Chronic Thumb writes in via Twitter, we're talking about Rosie's tit today, I see. Guess there isn't much else brewing. Eh, boys? No. There is fuck all brewing. Rosie's birthday is on Wednesday. That's brewing.
Buddy, it's July 14th. What are we supposed to talk about besides my left tit?
We're just doing our job at the end of the day. So, Rosie, setting up your birthday on Wednesday. I did disclose this on the show last week when you weren't on. I was going to surprise you with the Shen brothers, but they're busy. They got shit going on, so it's not happening. It is not happening. Graydon's like, we got company coming to Kelowna. I was like, okay, man. Let's not even go down that well.
They aren't scared to Showtime. You don't rely on them for too much. They are so entrenched in the show. Their whole life revolves around Showtime-ness, so they don't know anything different. But
like, dude, he's listing like St. Louis Blues players that are coming to visit him. I'm like, I don't care. Like, sure.
The demands on the boys. Thanks for trying, but I'm not surprised. They keep themselves very busy, and they're very Showtime fellas, those Shanner boys.
It's okay. They say hi. So Rosie's birthday Wednesday. We aren't going to be able to react. Yeah. So our new summer programming, we're going to go to 3 shows a week. So we're doing Wednesday, Thursday this week. Thursday show, we'll be able to react. We're going to work on a couple things behind the scenes, bring you a couple interviews, hopefully. Fingers crossed. So it's all we got for today. Any last words, Rosie?
No, just grinding through the dog days. Yeah, we'll go down to 3 days and bring you some stuff. But again, if anything crazy happens, do tune in to the channel, even if it's not our scheduled show day, because we'll be firing off instant reactions to any big-time news that does happen. We're everything you need right here.
Love it. At the Leafs Nation 401, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Leafs Morning Take wherever you find your podcast. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review when you do so. And don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com. Once again, thank you to today's guest, Utah GM Bill Armstrong, dropping by the podcast. So make sure you check that out in its entirety. Thank you to producer Vic. For Jay Rosehill, I'm Nick Alberga. And again, we'll talk on Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long-form interviews, we got clips, we got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.